Bill O'Reilly. Here we go. Nope. And something happened to Glenn Beck's forehead, and I don't know what it is. Has everybody noticed this? Like, whatever happened, Glenn, I know you get nervous, and maybe you break out when you've got yet another in a long line of auditions to be Colonel Sanders. But don't pick it. It's just not good. Well, it's gonna get infected. I'm just saying. And of course, he's got Bill O'Reilly on the phone because even Glenn Beck is smart enough not to let a man who had to pay $30 million to have his sexual assault victim keep her mouth shut in the same building with, I think, his family next door.
There's nothing here that is going for America.
Okay, by the way, this is Bill O'Reilly. Big Gov is breaking the private marketplace to expand their power. That's the other thing, too, is that the seeking power idea, this is the next kind of talking point.
None of this.
None of this. Can't you, I mean, if you're going to wear them, at least snap them when you make a point.
No, it's all about
power?
Tribalism. And
it's tribalism. Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, you mean like when the Republicans want to oust Liz Cheney because they want to shun her? Well, yeah. Okay.
There are highways that have gone through minority neighborhoods and have.
Why are they cutting to this shot? Why can't you just put Glenn up on one side and Bill up on the other? I don't know. Does this guy just get some air time? So they just show this is where Glenn's ass would be.
Adversely affected that. That's
sure.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah.
I guess
the
Biden administration is going to tear all them down because they want to spend $6 trillion. They're going to announce that today.
Yeah, it's a 10-year budget.
But let me get to the lumber thing in Canada. This is all about cheese.
The lumber thing in Canada, because we now know that it isn't the California lumber that's causing the shortage. It's Western Canada.
It's not about lumber. All right. So the Trudeau government in Ottawa.
No. In what? Sorry?
All right. So the Trudeau government in Ottawa.
I'll show them.
Slapped on restrictions on American dairy farmers sending cheese to Canada because they want to protect the Canadian farmers. In return for that, the Biden administration has slapped tariffs on lumber. Now, you ask, well, why would they do that since we already have a lumber shortage and housing building materials
tell us why.
Have gone up 300% in 4 months. Why would they do that?
I can't imagine.
Because they're not
Why
looking
aren't we building houses out of cheese, I think is the question.
Folks, this isn't about helping individual Americans.
No, of course not.
It's about amassing as much power as possible in
the power of wood.
Washington, D.C., to basically change the whole economic system of this country.
Really? So normal back and forth? Okay, hold on one second. And I this assertion is pretty good. So let's see. Canada cheese versus lumber tariffs. So Biden slapped these. So Biden did this. Biden put on. This has nothing to do with a tariff fight that's been going on for years. And why Trump is fighting Canada on softwood lumber and dairy. Two arcane long-standing fights. Two arcane and long-standing fights are at the center of President Trump's trade war with Canada. The U.S. has been battling Canada over softwood lumber since the 1980s. The disputes over dairy protections have been persistent, irritant, in the otherwise congenial relationship between the two countries. But that's not what's going on here, folks. Now it's not an arcane and long-standing fight that's had two countries that like each other fighting over these two very things for decades. It's not that. This is only happening because Biden is trying to turn us into communism. Both trade issues grabbed headlines after Trump announced a 20% tariff on Canada's softwood lumber industry last week. So that's the same. Okay, so let's see. shall we go back to, let me check something. Hold on. Biden, softwood, lumber, tariff, cheese, Canada. Whoops. There we go. New year, old trade words. Let's see. January 1st, 2021. Let's see. New Year, old trade words, lumber, dairy dispute set for arbitration. Canada should get ready for a quite difficult discussion, trade researcher warns. Two of the thorniest trade disputes between Canada and the U.S. on softwood, lumber, and dairy are ready to come back in 2021 under the new NAFTA. Oh, wait, the USMCA, you mean? Why'd you say why'd you say new NAFTA when this is built into the USMCA as a... Oh. On December 9th, the U.S. requested formal consultation on the agreement's state-to-state dispute settlement rules. Washington is challenging how Canada regulates 14 categories of dairy imports, such as cream, butter, and cheese. Outgoing United States Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer warned last June that the U.S. was unhappy before the revised agreement had even come into force. What? The U.S. was unhappy before the revised agreement had come into force. Hold on one second. This needs to be... I need to blow this up so you guys can see it. Big concessions President Trump bragged about wringing out of Canada haven't amounted to much for American farmers. 2 days after the U.S. kicked off its dairy complaint, Canada escalates its softwood lumber dispute by requesting a panel under Chapter 10 rules to review countervailing duties the U.S. had revised in late November. Canada firmly believes that any duties imposed on Canadian exports of softwood lumber to the United States are unwarranted and unfair. International Trade Minister Mary Ng said December 11th, adding that the duties harm the economic recovery on both sides of the border. Canada already had waited months for a panel to be struck under the original NAFTA's Chapter 19. Original NAFTA? Last summer, Canada won a World Trade Organization case on softwood lumber, but the U.S. appealed, and because the Americans continued to block appointments to the WTO's appellate body, that case is effectively stalled. Gee, I can't imagine why we're having issues getting lumber into the country now, during the Biden administration. It's almost as if, as they saw themselves losing, they felt that there was a way that they could hamstring the new administration. Ng said Canada is considering all its legal options, which include another WTO case on lumber, but it's not clear that would bring any remedy in the short term beyond the prospect of another moral victory. The lumber action by Canada really was a signal, said Inu Manak, a research fellow at the Washington-based Cato Institute. It's tit for tat thing. It's sort of, hey, look, we need to get some movement around somewhere here. You're accusing us of not following the rules, but you're certainly not allowing us to benefit from the ruling at the WTO as well. Hoping saner heads will prevail. We never get out of it on lumber, she said, listing off the multiple battles she's been fighting for years in an effort to disprove the U.S. industry's claim that Canadian lumber is unfairly subsidized and establish that the duties payable should be zero. This is a growth industry and a total revenue stream for trade lawyers, she cited. Okay, so basically what we're finding out by just a couple of clicks of the pen and a tap of the keyboard is that these troubles over softwood and dairy were started last year by the Trump administration, are a part of the USMCA shitting the bed. But I'm sure, guys, come on, I mean, but that's not what it's about. It's not. It's about communism.
That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's not a long-standing trade dispute. It's been going on forever, where trade lawyers are literally building their careers on this. No.
It's not about Americans paying far more for gasoline. And
right.
No, it's not. That has nothing to do with,
Or paying far more for food because all the food has to be trucked in. It's not about that.
All the food has to be trucked in? Oh, right, because Trump gave away all of our beef, soybeans, and corn.
We're going to control the private economy.
Softwood is a growth industry. See yourself out.
The Biden administration in Washington, we're going to control the marketplace, and we're going to break the private marketplace. We're going to
break the private marketplace. This is Biden administration trying to destroy commerce.
Break you. That's what's happening.
So we have.
So explain this and say it in a voice that the zit on my forehead can understand.
Trillions of dollars now pumping into the system, and Joe Biden has just put forward a budget of $6 trillion. That's more.
Yeah. Imagine, let's just say that you make, and I'll use a ballpark figure that, let's say you're just a working person, and what you do for a living is you run an entire economy. And for that, you make somewhere in the order of $26 trillion a year. Now, you probably have somewhere in the order of, half of that is in material costs and stuff like that. But the rest of it is taken out in profit in one way or another, spread evenly over a large group of people and unevenly sometimes over another group of people. And in the process of doing that, you pay kind of like service fees, which would be like taxes to the government. And that's a portion of that cost to operate, right? Your taxes on the 26 trillion that go through your coffers every year are about $8 trillion or something like that over time. And some of it's already spoken for in healthcare and other stuff, but some of it's, discretionary spending. And so what you want to do is, you have $8 trillion coming in every year. You have an outlay that might be higher than that. You also know that you make 26 trillion a year. So you could go, all right, I could let all my machines break and everything kind of fall apart, and I could make 22 trillion next year, and 21 trillion the year after that, and 19 trillion the year after that. Or I could take out a loan and invest 6 trillion into the future. Now, that's not what Republicans do. Republicans take out a $6 trillion loan and give it to their friends and go, what money? That's what the tax break was. But in this case, it's infrastructure and other stuff that's actually an investment in the country that will help you make money. So if you're currently, even with the broken infrastructure, and the lack of broadband and busted bridges and shit like that, lead pipes and fighting crime that's caused by lead poisoning and all these other things, over the course of it, if you're making, $26 trillion, let's say on average, a year based on that, imagine what you could make if you didn't have to drive around the broken bridge to get to work, if you didn't have to drink poison water, if you didn't have to ice skate uphill in almost everything. It's not a zit, it's an implant. It's a possibility, chat room.
More than we spent in World War II.
Well, yeah. But we didn't have computers in World War II. We didn't have quantum. We also didn't make anywhere near that during World War II. It's not the equivalent of what we spent in World War II. And by the way, we didn't spend that money in World War II on us particularly, other than the fact that if, Germany had taken Europe, eventually they would come for us.
It's the highest spending we've ever had as a nation.
Yeah, but we just spent $2.5 trillion on the military. You didn't bat an eye at that shit, did you? And that was way more than we spent on World War II.
$6 trillion. That's double the current out of control budget.
But that's not the yearly budget. It's over 10 years.
I don't know what everything is going to be spent on.
Well, you could read it or look into it. I mean, there's an organization. But that's why they have oversight.
Do we ever recover from all of this spending?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Well, the inflation is going to devastate Americans who have saved up for education or retirement. That's her.
No, it won't. We don't have endemic inflation. We have momentary inflation because nobody was buying shit last year and everything. People are trying to sell stuff and get back into the market again, so they're charging a higher price because they weren't able to sell their shit, and they're also having supply chain issues because that still hasn't righted itself. If you sell, products that you get from Italy or parts of Europe that are still being affected by COVID, you're not going to have that much available to you. So what you do have available, if people want it, they're going to pay a higher premium for it.
Certainly going to happen.
Oh, good. So the people who played by the rules.
Oh, so we're not talking about Trump anymore.
Now let's screw them even more.
That's right. Every American's going to get screwed.
Yeah! Come on, guys. We're going to get laid. Sorry. So what? So let's dance.
Every single person is going to get screwed.
Do we have to take a number, or, I mean, is it screwed in the kind of way like, hey, I like the cut of your jib, or the, hey, I work here at Fox, and if you want to keep your job, you'll do what I say, kind of Bill O'Reilly screwed? I mean, obviously, I prefer the former to the latter.
Because the criminal justice system is collapsing, and
Is it?
And the economic system won't be far behind that.
And
That's what causes it? That's the domino? So you flood the streets with crooks, and then they attack Wall Street, I guess. I killed the school bus driver.
Missouri has lost 26% of small businesses just because of the pandemic. You and I.
Really? Because California handled it, and they didn't lose that many. Maybe Missouri is horribly run. I mean, you'd have to ask their senators. I don't know.
Both know. Jobs are created by small business people, and they're destroying those.
That's right.
Who's they? Oh, the government of Missouri? Yeah, sure.
But that's why Biden wants this massive spending, so the federal government can take over from small business. And
Why would they take over if they loan you the money and then it's forgiven in terms of PPP loans if you spend it on your employees?
Provide jobs in the highway sector or the
And where is that guy going?
green energy sector. But I want to tell you one thing about this. If you
Yeah, tell us.
watch the news deck, which you do not,
No one doesn't.
by the way, you do not. I'm going to tell everybody.
I don't even.
No one watches it. I mean, you're not alone, Glenn. No one watches his shit. No one. That's how he knows. They literally have so few viewers on Bill O'Reilly's show that they can actually say hello to them all individually.
You would have heard.
I don't even know what
last night.
channel it's on. Yeah.
Okay, it's on every channel. You can't escape it. You go to BillO'Reilly.com, and there
That's
it is.
an internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those internet things are
Last night, I
scams.
was the only reporter in the world to tell you that FDR tried the same thing in 1935
Oh, FDR was a commie.
that Biden is trying.
Bill has a show, doesn't? No, he doesn't. Bill does not have a show. He has a thing he does on his website. He's a micro video blogger.
Now, what Biden is doing now is a replica of what Franklin Delano Roosevelt tried to do in 1935.
Well, don't threaten me with a good time.
Which was what?
Over the
Which was what?
private economy.
FDR was trying to take over the private economy.
Yes. Price controls, all of it.
Yes. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously what FDR tried to do in 1935 was unconstitutional.
Okay.
All right? Nobody
Right. Sure.
knows that but me, Beck. You don't know it. Stu certainly doesn't know it.
Of course
All
not.
right? But
FDR, you're going to have to back up and explain who he was.
Yeah. Bill knew him personally.
But
so what I said last night, because I presented you the facts, and if you look up the case, you'll see it, all right,
Yeah.
that the Supreme Court slapped down FDR's budget and his vision of taking over the economy. That could happen today. So I
Yeah.
suggested
Yeah, if Biden tried that today, the Supreme Court would slap that down as well. But he's not trying that. So what the fuck are we talking about?
that the Attorney General of Texas immediately, if this budget is passed, or it doesn't even matter, he can
No, it doesn't matter. Don't even wait till it passes. Just attack
write
it.
up something today. Sue the Biden administration on behalf of Texas,
What, to get their energy grid fixed?
and it'll be the same suit, and they'll win in the Supreme Court.
what was the name?
But he's got to actually do the thing you're suing him for. I think we've found the reason why they keep running into this whole standing problem.
What was the name of the case?
I don't have it off the top of my head,
Oh, my
but
gosh.
it's
Who was the?
all you have to do is Google.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? This is like. Can you imagine all these cameras being set up, all these lights, all these monitors, all this bullshit, just to film two old farts sitting at a coffee table, like in a cafe, just going, the world of fucking kids today. And they try this bullshit when I was a kid, and then it's not going to work, you fucking commies. And da, da, da. Like, this is just them griping.
FDR, Supreme Court, 1935, and it'll pop up.
Okay, cool. Let's look at it. Let me see. FDR, let's see. FDR, Supreme Court. Wait, what was it? FDR, shit. Hold on. Back up, Bill.
Okay. And what was the specific case? Do you remember the specifics on that? What was the specific case? Who was making the charge? Yeah. Who was suing, and why did they win?
The case was brought by private business owners that said they could not conduct commerce, interstate commerce, because of all the restrictions FDR was putting on them. That was the case. Okay? You can do the exact same thing now. And you're going to have to, although I don't think this budget's going to pass, by the way.
Yeah, it is. They're going to do it with reconciliation, but good luck. I mean, this is the big ask, and they're going to get probably closer to $4.5 trillion, and it will pass, and it will get all the infrastructure stuff that he's asking for will be in there. And then they'll do a continuing resolution on all the other shit. When Franklin Roosevelt clashed with the Supreme Court and lost, buoyed by his reelection but dismayed by rulings of the justices who stopped his New Deal programs, a president overreaches. Okay, this is the part he's talking about. Okay, so let's blow this stuff up. As the first election returns, I feel like this is old stuff. So hold on one second. I need let's see. I need a piece of paper, and here you go. I got some paper over here. That's not gonna work. I need some kind of just like a old. This is from 1936. You got to give it the proper. As the first election returns reached his family estate in Hyde Park, New York, on a November night in 1936, Franklin Delano Roosevelt leaned back in his wheelchair, his signature cigarette holder at a cocky angle, blew a smoke ring, and cried, "Wow!" His huge margin in New Haven signaled that he was being swept into a second term in the White House with the largest popular vote in history at the time. The best showing in the Electoral College since James Monroe had run unopposed in 1820. The outpouring of millions of ballots for the Democratic ticket reflected the enormous admiration for what FDR had achieved in less than 4 years. He'd been inaugurated in March 1933 during perilous times. 1/3 of the workforce, the industry, all but paralyzed. Farmers desperate, most of the banks shut down, and in his first 100 days, he had put through a series of measures that lifted the nation's spirit. In 1933, workers and businessmen marched in spectacular parades to demonstrate their support for the National Recovery Administration, NRA. That's changed in a while. Sorry about that. Roosevelt's Agency for Industrial Mobilization, symbolized by its emblem, the Blue Eagle. Farmers were grateful for government subsidies dispensed by the newly created Agricultural Adjustment Administration, AAA, also something that was borrowed as a name. Over the ensuing 3 years, the cavalcade of, oh, for fuck's sake, let's just get to it. During the next year, these 5 judges, occasionally in concert with others, especially Chief Justice Charles Evan Hughes. I'm Chief Justice Charles Evan Hughes, and there's nothing that's going to get past me. The kind of hornswoggle that this man is trying to put through is a violation of the Constitution of the Congress, and therefore I will not let this pass. Struck down by more significant acts of Congress, including the 2 foundation stones, the NRA and the AAA of Roosevelt's program, that at any other time in the nation's history before or since. In May 1935, the court destroyed FDR's plan for industrial recovery when, in a unanimous decision involving a kosher poultry business in Brooklyn, it shot down the Blue Eagle. Well, I hope it was kosher. I hope the killing of the Blue Eagle was... Well, you know, we had it was, you know, that not everything was kosher at the time.
But they're not going to stop.
When we ate it, we did it.
See,
shut up, Bill.
Listeners need to
Mind
know
just business.
that this
we're in the
is
middle.
a well-thought-out
Bill,
campaign.
we're in the middle of something.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up. I'm telling history. Let's see. We got basically. When in 1935, FDR had criticized it for adopting a horse and buggy definition of interstate commerce, editorial writers had lashed out at him. Therefore, the president had said little, even as he quietly heeded the counsel of his Attorney General, Homer Cummings. Hello, I'm Homer Cummings, and as a representative of the president, I would say, Mr. President, they mean to destroy us. We will have to find a way to get rid of the present membership of the Supreme Court. With Roosevelt's encouragement, Cummings sought to come up with a workable plan. Well, he would come, wouldn't he? Up with a workable plan to ensure a more favorable response to the New Deal from the court. These explorations proceeded stealthily. The president never mentioned the court filing during his campaign for re-election. All right, so this was him trying to move on this whole thing because he thought they were on shaky ground. And then a kosher delicatessen in Brooklyn filed a suit against him to stop it. And
to wrangle private business, to put as many companies out of business so the federal government steps in and provides all the employment.
It's why the federal government did all of the forbearance, and they own now, between the federal government and the Federal Reserve, about 90% of all low-income housing and 70% of all mortgages, period, in this country.
No, they don't. They guarantee 70% of all mortgages in the country so that they can happen. And ownership of all the low-income housing is because the government builds the low-income housing, because private market realtors aren't interested in it. There's no money in it. It's low income.
Country. They are the ones who are the lender of last resort.
Right. And there's a lot of people looking for that last resort right now.
They're the ones that have bought up during forbearance. So they're the guarantor.
So that people aren't evicted.
I mean, you can't pay. The government is the one that ends up with your house, your home. They are owning everything.
No, they're not. They're trying to offload everything. They only own it if you don't pay for it.
Through this.
Right. Because that...
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously, they're trying to create worker farms.
Takes away freedom and liberty, and so...
Yeah, right. The freedom and liberty to be evicted by a bank.
Self-reliance from...
Self-reliance. Holy shit.
Freedom and liberty and self-reliance.
How does the government take your own self-reliance? I mean, get a pack of matches, motherfucker, and burn your house down and leave. I don't know what part of this is like, well, the government took my spirit. Jesus.
From the people. And
the people. Yeah, and by the way, when he says the people, he doesn't mean him and Glenn. They have plenty of money. He means the rabble. You know, people who can't afford to pay $30 million to their rape victim.
Makes the people dependent on the Democratic Party in Washington, which...
Why?
Will dole out the goodies, the jobs, the entitlements, the mortgages. This is a well-designed plan.
Well, good for them. I'm glad they've... So you're saying basically the bill that the Democratic Party is a functional party that does what it sets out to do. Okay, go.
That has been executed in every socialist country on earth. That's what you're seeing.
Really? Do they do loan guarantees and then let them pay back the money early with no penalty, unlike a bank?
But it'll never be reported by the court.
Because it won't fucking happen? Dude, I love these these phantom horror shows. The future holds for us the danger of communism. Just right around the corner, guys. If we let Medicare happen, next thing you know, we'll all be they'll hand us a hammer and a sickle, and that'll do. You're a farmer half the day, and the rest of the day you spend building up houses for the leaders of the party. Like, Jesus Christ. Everything is this, way off in the distance. You think you're safe now. You think you've just taken out a loan that a bank won't give you because the government's backing it up, and then you can actually keep your business afloat and you can pay it back anytime you want. You think that. But to try and pay the loan back, I did. Yeah, but did you really? Yes, I did. It's paid back. Matter of fact, I refinanced part of it and actually took out another loan from a private lender after we paid that back, because half of my government loan was forgiven because that was in the bill in the COVID rescue package. Yeah, but did it really?
Corporate media or the New York Times or the
Yeah, is there a difference?
Washington Post.
All the places that won't carry Bill O'Reilly's columns or show his videos.
Therefore, 95% of American voters don't know what's happening, and
They don't know.
I don't believe Biden knows either.
Yeah, he doesn't know. I mean, it's a master plan that he's trying to, he's obviously trying to out FDR, but he doesn't know that. I mean, he's got a master plan to reshape the entire economy, and he's just this puppet master running everything behind the scenes, but he doesn't even know he's doing it. It's like he's like Rain Man counting cards with socialism.
My producers, I know you can do it on your own, but my producers can put you in direct contact with the Attorney General
Whoever
here in Texas. He's a friend. I know he'd come on the show. You should ask him to do it.
Yeah, ask him and he'll go, what the fuck are you talking? Why would I do that? I mean, I'll come on your show and say you're right, but I'm not going to actually do that. Are you out of your goddamn mind? This is the United States of America. The federal government is a functional part of our existing society. It goes, we go. Are you fucking dumb? This whole we need to get the government so small we can drown it in a bathtub thing has ended up with a government that China and Russia are taking turns dunking in a river.
Do it. You should explain this to him and see if he'd do it. Because they love suing the federal government here in Texas. They love it.
They love it.
And
and they also love watching their citizens freeze to death. Obviously not in person, from a warm, cabin on the beach and cabana in the beach in Cancun.
They usually win.
I think they probably know, Beck. I think they probably know this. If they don't, you can tell them, and I'm happy to talk to them. But my job is to report the news. That's what.
No, you don't actually have a job, Bill. Your pastime is to report the news. You got fired from your news reporting job because word got out that you paid a woman $30 million to keep your ongoing sexual assault against her a secret. You were let go from Fox for the highest amount paid for sexual assault I have ever heard in my life. That the only way that you pay out that kind of money is if you know you're going to fucking jail.
What it is.
Yes, you're right, Eric. 32 million. Sorry, I wouldn't want to. I was rounding down. Yes, he paid $30 million, $32 million.
I'm so angry that the news in America is not being reported any longer. And you know it.
Yeah.
And by news, you mean your bullshit.